Alright, so of course, you can choose a Pokemon or cancel from this mode, pressing B. Now, you can choose more than one Pokemon if your other 5 slots have Pokemon in them. Okay, we have 6 slots right now that it shows ideally that you can hold and carry and holster Pokemon. Now, what would be cool if they did make an extra video game concept, they'd make it as the Infinity stage with Pokemon, okay? So you can basically have your starter, and you can have 6 other Pokemon, which would be kind of cool. So you have an extra conceptable edge while you're in battle or out, okay? And in this concept, of course, if you go into Infinity stage, which should be an option in your options button, of course, like if you want to add it, which would be kind of like the shift button, which would be helpful. But it'd be kind of cool, you know what I mean? You can have that as a concept of a feature if you want to play the new age or if you want to play the old age, you know? Kind of make it interesting, you know? But, if you go into Infinity stage, you know, your Pokemon follows you like Heart Gold and Cell Silver, which we'll see as that is another next gen. Okay, that is the second gen, and it will be as explained ahead of, you know, which will be previous. It can be previous or, you know what I mean? How I'm having these scenes, they can be previous scenes or further scene. But right now, this is a further scene from the previous scene. But it will be explained that Kanto and Johto intervene in the beginning. But of course, we get sucked in and zapped into Kanto. Okay? Johto tried to suck us in, but Johto is the second next gen. And you guys and ladies cannot know about this section of Pokemon yet, but you get a little teaspoon of them in the beginning. So that ends up happening, and of course, like I wanted to say and state, you go into your Pokemon section, back to explaining about the game. Of course, you'll see your Pokemon, you'll see how much HP they have and their level. Press A on the selection. Of course, it'll say, do what with this Pokemon. Summary, of course. Click on summary. Boom, you find out your summary about your Pokemon. Now, the cool part that I actually found about Blast is he's brave. His nature is actually brave, so apparently that would be kind of cool. His nature would be brave in the video and in the movie. So, and for eternally, for, you know, in the concept of, you know, Pokemon, regardless, even if he loses a head, you know, because of course he's not meant to be perfect or anything, but he's meant to be nice, and he's supposed to be like one of the, you know, idolized types of, you know, for eternity in the realm. Okay, now I'm going to play a lot of scenarios like hopefully throughout the regions and all that, so it will be important, like how he is. So the concept, I hope the developers will keep it in the concept of all of it. Okay, so of course it makes things more interesting and spicy in the beginning, because he wakes up and he starts getting startled, he sees everybody, and then he gets brave, you know what I mean? He starts getting lashy, you know what I mean? With him being his type and everything. So then, of course, as I want to explain before we get any further, the interesting part is my memo in my nature is brave also. So that is what that is. Okay. And how it is my rival is linked in the same way. So Taz is brave also. There will be more explanation and more explaining of depth of others, but that's how it is right now in the beginning. Of course, you find the information, you find out Charmander's number 4 in the dex of the beginning process of Pokemon. Of course, his name is Charmander, as his actual name. He's a fire type. Of course, it shows that your name, the trainer, actual owner, and where the Pokemon has originatedly been from. And the idea number is where originally it came from. And then there's no item that he's holding. So, of course, as it says in the memo of his little card of knowing, says, met in Pallet Town. So of course, in the interesting concept, you see the professor messing with the Pokédex, and he's like, like interestingly, you know, after he does say the concept of knowing the Pokemon thoroughly, he's like, Ash, and well, not Ash. I'm saying Ash because you know it's making me think about it. But I hope that there's no ridicule or no causing of feudings between us. But of course, he says, he's like, Stefan and Taz, he's like, your Pokemon are brave. Of course, and he explains all that, and he's like, because we don't have the Pokédex, so we don't have no information and all that stuff. And he's like, your Pokemon knows, abilities will be explained later, but he's like, your Pokemon knows Scratch and Growl. Okay? So I'll explain about this section and all that later. But of course, I'll explain this. If you're new and all that, you can actually click on this as a selection. You can find out about Scratch, hard pointing claws, rake it up with the foe. So, of course, use a Growl's cute way to lower the foe's stat. Okay. Now I want to explain and go into the concept of explaining about Growl, because Growl is a status effect move. But I will explain and expect that after. Okay. But he says, Scratch and Growl. So, of course, I tell Blast to growl. So we go in, and I scratch. But I'm not going to get to that. I'm going to say that in the end. I wanted to get back to the in-depth. I just had to keep on saying this before I forget all that. And I want to go back to it and state that, as you see Blast in green now. But when they're in green, of course, they have, decent amount of energy. Now, this is when their trait, hopefully, for the add-on development, this is when their trait's alive, This is when they have their most energy. This is when they show their trait the most. Now, when they're yellow, it's when they're actually, they're practically slightly, they're towards fatigue, but they're in caution mode, practically. That's what yellow is. That's when they're in caution mode. And their trait's not really as muchly out. And, that's when they're they're wondering, if they're going to go down or if they can beat their opponent. So mainly their trait shows, but it doesn't show as highly with energy. Okay? Now with some of them, depending on how their traits are, if they're more outgoing and more tougher, their traits kick in and activate when they're down, their special abilities, as it will be, that I explained and we've seen. Okay? But when they're in red, as I was lastly say, when they're exhausted, that's when they are. Okay? When they're exhausted, of course, that's when they're sweating and they're painting. Now we've seen this in animation and movies also, so of course that's when you see that, and the conceptable feature is in depth and explained. Okay, so I just want to say that, so that is there and known on the floor and on the table. So of course, as it's known, it's back to the talk. The assistant's like, I think Stefan's up for the task. And of course, Professor's like, yeah, I think he will be, and all that stuff. Then I tell him to scratch, and Squirtle goes down. So everybody's like, whoa, awesome. And I'm like, great job, Blast. And everybody's looking like, Blast? Oh, neat. And everybody's like, hi, Blast. And of course, he's excited. He looks and And of course, with the excitement, it gives him a boost. And of course, the professor's Pokédex ends up going off, and it says, Blast earned a level. Now, of course, the levels don't matter and all that stuff. Now, for the developers and all that stuff for games and our own content, we're going to add and have these sections come in, so you'll know how the development is, of how they grew and all that stuff and all that. So it's practically doing research and all that stuff also and all that. So of course, oh shit.